Picture this. You're at a bus stop. It's raining. Your headphones are in. You're listening to sad indie music because of course you are. And across the shelter sits them, the most magnetic human you've ever seen. You've never spoken, not even a glance exchanged. But somehow, your brain has already built an entire relationship timeline, complete with mutual Spotify playlists and a pet dog named Waffles. This, dear viewers, is called a parasocial fantasy, and your brain loves it. Parasocial relationships were originally used to describe one-way emotional connections people formed with celebrities or fictional characters. You know, crying over a K-pop idol you've never met, or believing Steve from Blue's Clues is your emotional support big brother. But now, your brain's like, why limit ourselves to TV when we can do this with strangers in real life too? When your brain sees someone intriguing but inaccessible, like the hot barista who always spells your name wrong, or that person who sat across from you on the train one time, your imagination fills in the gaps. Your brain gives them a personality, a sense of humor, and probably a tragic backstory, just to keep it spicy. It's like mental Sims, except instead of controlling them, you just silently fall in love and mourn them after they walk away forever. So yes, missing someone you've never talked to is basically your brain fanfictioning your own life. Ever binge-watched a show and felt physical discomfort when an episode ends on a cliffhanger? Yeah. Now imagine your brain doing that with real people. It's called the Zeigarnik effect, and it's basically your brain's way of saying, wait, the story isn't finished. Hello? Where's the closure? So let's say you saw someone 3 days in a row at the same cafe, and on day 4, they're just gone. No explanation, no goodbye, just poof. Your brain is now screaming internally like it just got ghosted on Hinge after a really promising conversation about astrology and shared trauma. The Zeigarnik effect makes you obsess over things that are unfinished. Tasks, conversations, romantic possibilities with that stranger wearing a hoodie that said, "I believe in aliens," because obviously, they were your soulmate. Your prefrontal cortex wants closure like it wants oxygen. And when it doesn't get it, boom. Instant imaginary heartbreak over someone who maybe didn't even notice you existed. In short, your brain is that friend who can't stop overanalyzing a 3-second interaction and turns it into a Greek tragedy. Here's a fun fact. Your brain doesn't need actual interaction to release dopamine. It just needs potential. You don't even need to say hello to someone. All it takes is a lingering glance, a maybe smile, or them reaching for the same overpriced oat milk latte you did. And suddenly your brain is throwing a hormone rave. That rush of excitement, that tingling hope that maybe something could happen, yeah, that's dopamine. And your brain is like, whoa, what if we keep replaying that 2.4 seconds for the next 6 months and pretend it was destiny? Because nothing hooks the brain like the possibility of connection. Real connection is great and all, but it also includes weird texts and seeing how someone chews pasta. Potential is perfect. It's glossy. It never disappoints. You're not really missing them. You're missing who you imagined they were. Which, let's face it, is probably 78% based on how they wore their backpack and 22% projection. Okay, so here's the thing about loneliness. It doesn't play fair. It exaggerates. It romanticizes. It turns minor characters in your life into Oscar-winning leads in the internal drama that is you. When you're lonely, your brain is basically doing a previously on my sad little life montage. And suddenly that one stranger who let you borrow a pen in 2019 is now the one that got away. Why? Because loneliness hijacks your emotional processing. Studies have shown that lonely brains light up in weird ways, interpreting neutral faces as hostile or, conversely, seeing random people as potential soulmates. It's like your amygdala is auditioning everyone for the role of person who will fix me emotionally. So missing a stranger when you're lonely isn't weird. It's your brain making guest appearances out of everyone in the waiting room of your life. Basically, your brain turns background extras into love interests just because it's bored and emotionally starving. Let's be honest, when you miss someone you've never even spoken to, you're not really missing them. You're missing the version of yourself that existed when they were around. Yeah. Sorry to get deep on a Tuesday, but here we are. Projection is when your brain uses someone else as a blank canvas to paint your hopes, your fantasies, and your unspeakable need to be seen as someone who finally drinks enough water and keeps their room clean. You're not falling for them. You're falling for the version of you that existed in their silent, possibly indifferent presence. That confident, poetic version of you who casually locks eyes across a bookstore and somehow isn't covered in crumbs. Basically, they're not a real person to you. They're a vessel for your unspoken desires. A walking Pinterest board. A human mood board for how you wish love would begin. Silently, beautifully, and without the messy parts like actual conversation. And your brain is like, this is fine, totally normal. We've created an entire emotional connection based on proximity and 3 wardrobe choices. Proceed to heartbreak. Brains are funny little liars. They don't need data to form opinions. They just need ambiguity. Enter the mysterious stranger. No backstory, no social media to stalk, no mutual friends to awkwardly text. Just a vague, undefined, human-shaped blur of possibility. And you're suddenly emotionally invested like it's the series finale of your favorite show. Psychologically speaking, we are wired to crave the unknown, especially when it comes to romance. There's a reason why vague is sexy. It's like your brain fills in the blanks with the absolute best-case scenario. They're probably kind, artistic, emotionally available, and definitely own a plant they haven't killed. This is called the ambiguity effect, and it's the same reason you get emotionally attached to someone who says maybe instead of no. Uncertainty keeps your brain engaged. It's like playing the lottery, but instead of losing money, you lose emotional stability. So missing a mysterious stranger? That's just your brain doing what it does best, romanticizing a human-shaped mirage because it's bored and full of unresolved plot lines. Okay, here's something weird. Your brain will take tiny, almost invisible social moments and turn them into emotional bombshells. Like when that stranger holds the door for you and your fingers brush just slightly, and your brain suddenly plays the opening chords of a romantic montage. Or that one time you both laughed at the same thing at the same time, and now your brain is like, welp, that's cosmic alignment. Time to write a wedding speech. These are micro moments of connection. And psychologist Barbara Fredrickson says they're actually tiny doses of shared emotional presence that trick your brain into thinking something bigger just happened. It's like your nervous system got a shot of social espresso. And now you're left wondering why someone who smiled at you in a bookstore aisle is still renting space in your head 4 months later. Spoiler alert, it's not love. It's your brain being a drama queen with too much time and too few serotonin hits. You trust your memory, right? Yeah, don't. It's a compulsive storyteller with 0 fact-checking. If you think you're missing someone you barely interacted with, chances are your memory has edited that moment into something way deeper than it was. The lighting was never that good. They weren't smiling that hard. And no, they probably didn't look back longingly as they walked away. That's just your memory adding flair like a caffeinated screenwriter. This is called memory reconsolidation, where every time you remember something, your brain kind of rewrites it a little. And guess what? It rewrites it with whatever emotional flavor you're currently swimming in. So if you're lonely, bored, or fresh off a disappointing Bumble date, your brain will re-edit that vague stranger moment into something Oscar-worthy. It's like your personal history gets more romantic every time you retell it to yourself, without you even realizing it. Basically, your memory is the Netflix adaptation of your actual life, based on true events, but barely. Ever convinced yourself that if you just said one thing, everything would have changed? Like, if I'd smiled back, we'd be in Paris right now with a joint savings account and a rescue dog named Ravioli. Welcome to the myth of the missed connection, where your brain retroactively assigns meaning to non-events and turns them into emotional relics. It's not that you lost something real, it's that your brain invented a version of what could have been, and then grieved it like a breakup. A breakup with a fantasy you made up during your commute, but still, a heartbreak nonetheless. This happens because humans hate wasted potential. We hate the idea that a moment could have mattered but didn't. So our brain steps in and slaps a tragic soundtrack on it like, wow, that was the one that got away. Hope you enjoy crying into your cereal. And because nothing actually happened, there's nothing to give you closure. You're left with this open-ended ache over a person who might have been rude, or weird, or deeply into NFTs. It's like grieving the ghost of a party you never attended, but you're still sure it was amazing. Sometimes when you miss a stranger, it's not even about them. It's about a feeling they triggered that you've felt before. It's called emotional déjà vu, where a moment with someone new reminds you of something old, some long-forgotten sweetness, safety, or spark. Maybe their voice had the same tone as your first crush. Or maybe they wore the same kind of sweater as your ex did the day they didn't ruin your birthday. Your brain connects that dot, and suddenly it's not about this person. It's about the emotional memory they woke up in your limbic system. So now you're mourning a person you've never known, because your brain has decided they are the spiritual sequel to someone who once made you feel less like a walking mess. That's the thing with brains. They'll use any excuse to chase the emotional high of connection, even if it means tying together two completely unrelated humans across a decade of personal chaos. You're not in love. You're in nostalgia cosplay. You ever feel like someone must have noticed you too? Like, there's no way they didn't feel that moment. That eye contact was cinematic. Yeah, sorry, your brain is lying again. This is called the illusion of symmetry, and it's your brain's sneaky way of convincing you that other people feel what you feel, especially during emotionally heightened moments. But here's the kicker. Most people are just thinking about their own lunch, their unread emails, or whether or not they left the stove on. They are not mind-melded to your silent rom-com energy. The illusion of symmetry tricks you into believing a moment was shared when it was actually very one-sided. Which is fine, until you start mourning a connection that never existed outside your own head. Then it's just your brain role-playing heartbreak for a party of one. It's like you're reading a love story, and they're reading a text from their roommate about expired hummus. Here's a hard truth. The craving for connection can be stronger than the connection itself. When you're emotionally starved, whether from loneliness, burnout, or just surviving another Monday, your brain latches onto anything that feels like warmth, even if it's from a stranger whose name you don't know and whose face you only remember in blurry detail. And here's the twisted part. Your brain doesn't even want closure. It wants to keep craving, because craving keeps the story alive. Closure ends the episode. Craving keeps you binging. So when you say, I miss them, what you really mean is, I miss the way my brain lit up with hope, potential, and fantasy for 5 delicious minutes. You don't miss them. You miss missing, which, honestly, is peak human behavior. Every once in a while, your brain assigns symbolic importance to a person who was just there. A background actor in your life scene, like the guy who walks his dog past your house at the exact same time every day. Or the girl who always sits 2 seats behind you in class and draws in the margins of her notebook. You've never spoken. But somehow, they're a character in your story now. Their existence validates your routine, makes the world feel a little less chaotic. And when they vanish, your brain feels weirdly betrayed. It's like a beloved supporting character got written off the show without a proper send-off. You're not in love. You're not obsessed. You're just wired to notice patterns and feel loss when those patterns break. Your brain mourns consistency. It grieves the rhythm. And it gives emotional weight to people who were never meant to carry it. Basically, your nervous system is throwing a tantrum in your honor.